Harvey, if you remember, we're Dottie and Wes Ostis from Clinton, Illinois. We had such a good time when we visited Gooseberry Falls State Park and went on the Fifth Falls walk with you that we thought we'd like to share the video we made at that time with you. We thoroughly enjoyed it. We hope you enjoy your retirement. If you remember, we were talking about the bracken fern poisoning, and you stimulated me to do a little research about that. And it turns out that the toxic principle in the bracken fern suppresses the formation of platelets in the bone marrow of cattle, and when they don't have enough platelets, then their blood doesn't clot, and that's the reason it's toxic to cattle in that way. Dottie, do you want to say anything to him too?
Just congratulations on your retirement, Harvey, and I hope you enjoy a lot of years of just nice walks without a whole group of people following you. Just nice walks where you can enjoy the forest all by yourself.
Very good. Happy retirement.
We've changed
found out Harvey's going to go. So we're going to go over here. Your group will just kind of go around here and find out where people are living. Here. You won't have any trouble keeping these space from the other one. The young one's a young woman. Back to the young woman. Now you're an old man. So that's why it's kind of well, we've got my brother and his wife from Richfield, Minnesota, and Sally and Jim Diamond from Wilmington, and Ron and Tammy and their boys from Fire Lake, Minnesota, and the Browns from St. Louis Park, and Doug is from Fort Worth, Dallas, and I don't know if I'm got the names of the other people yet. This is Painesville. That. Then I got Illinois here, right?
Right.
So that's about as far as I go now. We're talking about that. Bikers, that's in the same place, right?
We're Adobas from Minneapolis.
Okay. Did I leave anybody out?
Regan's from Denver Grove Heights.
Okay. Good. Well, fine. Nice to have you all. And someone asked me if it's going to rain, and the answer I gave was that I left my raincoat inside, so we'll see who's right, but I don't think it is. The forecast says sprinkles or slightly showers today, so I'm not anticipating any rain. I hope I'm right. Well, this is a walk that goes up to the Fifth Falls, and we take about 2 hours, but it doesn't mean we walk all the time. We stop and talk about things, try to get on the trail, and try to answer questions, and try to interpret some of the things we see in the forest, and I welcome questions of all kinds. I can't answer everything, but at least I like the questions. And what I'll try to do before I answer questions is try to pull a group together. So you can be pretty sure I won't answer questions to the people in the front of the line. That used to drive me crazy when I go on a tour. I figured that I was missing everything because the person in the front of the line was asking questions and I was never hearing it. By the time I got up there, then the trail would start out again. So I'll try not to do that. So I welcome your questions as we go along, but I'll probably wait till we get together and we can all hear the question and the answer at the same time. Money? And if you see any trash on the trail or litter, if you want to help pick it up, I got a sack here we can put it in. Very good. Any question? Look at one of our old native white pine here. That was the tree that was logged off here in the 1920s in northern Minnesota. It's a state tree of Michigan. I guess there's no Michigan people here. But it makes a good lumber tree. Premium lumber. It's soft wood. Can be easily cut, drilled, sawed, painted, planed, everything else. And it has resin in the wood that keeps it from decaying or rotting. so it's really a premium wood. The only trouble is it really never came back after logging days for a number of reasons. This was probably left over from logging days. Maybe it was too small or inaccessible or something. But we only got about a half dozen of these trees in the whole park, like that size at least.
They're slow growing?
Pretty slow growing.
I mean, compared to a Norway, is that why?
No, it's got a lot more problems than that. I just mentioned a couple of problems it has. For young ones, deer, too many deer, and they're after young trees. That's why we got all the pine fenced in the camping area. In fact, we even have to fence the red pine down there because of the deer population. So that's a problem. And then we got another problem with a blister rust disease that is carried by the gooseberry bush, gooseberry plant. That's the intermediate host. It's like almost like a wheat rust. It's a fungus. And that's a wind-borne disease that spends part of its life cycle on the currant or gooseberry bush, and then it kills these trees. So
It doesn't harm the gooseberry bushes?
no, it doesn't harm the gooseberry. No.
It just kills the young trees? Is that?
No, older trees too. Certain ones that just start dying on the top, and then they kind of die all the way down.
Is that what you see in certain parts of the country, just rusty looking trees? Is that what
It could
they
be.
look like?
It could be. They usually die from the top, but it could be that something else too. But it's probably a good reason that is. But the foresters are now collecting seeds from certain trees in northern Minnesota that have resisted this disease. So the future is that they're going to try to plant seeds from trees that are resistant to the disease, just like they did with wheat. So maybe by the time these young guys grow up in the next generation, maybe then there will be white pine again that we could plant and will be resistant to the disease. So far they haven't got it. So our state DNR now doesn't plant white pine in this part of the state at all because of the disease.
There are other parts of the state where they are planting white pine. How old is a tree like that? Would you guess?
Oh, I'd guess probably 120 years old maybe. 120. Just a guess. Well, I saw one red beside the trail as we came up here, and it's a state flower of Iowa in the flowering stage, and state flower of North Dakota. They got Iowa too, haven't they? Northern Illinois. I can't pin it anybody from Iowa. Anybody know what I'm talking about? What little plant I'm talking about? It's about this size and had two little red apples on it. The rose hips I was talking about. The rose hips are wild rose. You see that on the rose behind the trail? The wild rose. Lying on this side of the trail. Then Harold, why don't you bring up the second half? On this side here, then. I want to show you the fruit on this one. And nobody's looking at it. Everybody's eating berries instead. Anybody know what that is?
What a gall?
A gall? No. Edible nut? Hazelnut? So is it? Hazelnut, filbert. I'm going to reach in my old dirty sock here and show you what it is. You know what I'm showing? Huh. This is a commercially grown one though. This is not the same as here, but it's the same plant, the same thing. Filbert, hazelnut. You might see it in a daiquiri, that little round nut, or a gimlet. Some of you know that? Yeah. I'm getting recognition now. That little round nut. That's where. So that's a hazelnut, beaked hazelnut, and it's called beaked because this looks like a little bird's beak. Sometimes it's kind of curved. So that's where it gets the name beaked hazelnut.
At what time of the year can you harvest those, or can they be harvested?
What time of the year? Oh, I suppose October, probably October, when they get kind of brown and get ripe. Yeah.
They dry right on the bush.
Yeah. You have to beat the chipmunks though, and the squirrels. You have to get ahead of them.
They get them first.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have seen it, but Ron's probably. I don't think I would have seen it, but Ron.
Look, there are two.
All hear me?
Uh-huh.
Why are you doing
I wanted to show you these nice ferns here.
copy?
And I think we'll have to move both lines back.
Whoa.
Ferns are primitive plants. They don't have flowers or seeds. They're spore-producing plants. But they're very interesting plants. They don't call these leaves either. Remember what they call these?
Fronds?
Fronds.
Fronds. Right, they're fronds. They call these fronds. This is an easy one to tell because the fronds are arranged in a kind of a circle. And if you think of a game in which you hit an object with a racket, and the object you hit looks something like this, that gives a name to this fern. Shuttlecock fern. Looks like a birdie or a shuttlecock.
David, don't do that.
So that's an easy one to tell. There's no other fern that has the fronds in a nice kind of a circle like that. So this is the shuttlecock fern. Easy one to tell. And then on the other side of the trail here, I want to show you a plant here. It's kind of interesting. Named for an animal. We've got a lot of boys and girls on the trail today. And this is named for an animal that's a farm animal that gives milk.
Cow.
Right, cow. This is a cow parsnip. Cow parsnip. It's in the celery family. You can tell by the flowers that go up. It's kind of in that family, celery or dill family. Cow parsnip. We got a number of plants named for animals. We got a dogwood and a parsnip and catnip and this and that. So they're named for common animals. Horsetail, I have to show you a horsetail. So a lot of these plants have animal names. Kind of easy to tell. I've been looking for a berry that should go with this plant here, but I haven't had much luck yet this morning.
Thimbleberry?
That's what it is. That's the thimbleberry. And the thimbleberry is related to the raspberry.
No.
It has a big red berry.
Just stand right here. You
It's
can
not
see
quite
it
as
through.
tasty as a raspberry, a little more sour. But we should be seeing more and more of those.
thimbleberries. I like them
Have you had them before?
Yeah, I had two yesterday.
Yeah. Was that up at Tettagooch? You said you were up to Tettagooch Park.
Yeah, I had
You're eating
thimbleberries.
thimbleberries. Thimbleberries are found in Minnesota along the north shore here of the lake. And that seemed to be found much other places in Minnesota.
See,
Like,
I can't make anything with
where's my friends from Richmond? Minnesota? Where are you? You don't have them there, I don't think. Or Painesville. Don't have them. Seems like they start by Duluth and then they kind of go up the shoreline up towards the
So clean,
Canada.
you can have one of these.
So that's kind of a neat plant.
Yes, you do.
I'll try to resist picking and eating one if I see one. I'll try to resist. To show you one of the little maps of the park. And just going to show you, I'm not going to go through it, but one of these brown maps in the park, get one of those, and then look under the history of the park. And it gives a Frenchman's name, Grosier. Don't ask me to spell it. But his name translates into the word gooseberry. In fact, if you get home and go to your library, look in a English-French dictionary under the English part, gooseberry, it says Grosier, French. And then look in the other half of the book under Grosier,
You bring it
and
back.
it says gooseberry.
Walk
So it's named for a French explorer.
Explore.
Somebody said years ago, Harvey, we should rename the park because we were just overgrown with this plant here. They said you should rename the park. So that would be Thimbleberry. Thimbleberry Falls State Park. Got it when they're right in the middle and talk kind of loud and we're showing them the gooseberry bush here, the one that's got the prickly berries. And these kids are going after it like gangbusters here. But that's all right. I want you to look at the gooseberry right in here. And then the other comment that I wanted to make, the gentleman was talking about being so happy that there's no mosquitoes or flies or something in the woods here. And he was saying that it's much different than where he has been camping in the boundary waters. We've had flies around here in the campground the last few weeks or a week or so. But this park never has a mosquito problem, never. And I wonder if some of you might guess the reason. I think I know a reason, but maybe some of you got reasons that I haven't heard. Why don't we have a mosquito problem in the park?
No swamps or
No place to
No
breed.
standing water.
No, that's right, no stagnant water. See, all the water is running. The mosquitoes have to have stagnant water or lakes to breed. And we got another park in Minnesota. It's the same situation down the southeastern part of the state. Some of you have been down there by Rochester. Same thing, Whitewater State Park. Any of you have been there, Whitewater? Same thing. No standing water, in fact, no mosquitoes. So we're glad there is no mosquitoes, but people do remark about that quite a bit, and they say, I can't believe I'm in the woods here in short sleeves sometimes, or shorts, and there's no mosquitoes. I can't believe it. But you're right. Sure, yeah, you can eat those. We stopped here by a cedar grove, and some of you are, Jim Diamond is holding up that cedar. That's a dead one there, dying. But the cedar, or arborvitae, is a winter food for deer. They reached up as high as they can and nibbled off those cedar boughs or branches in here. The Indians use the bark to start fires. The bark is kind of shreds and kind of dry and comes off easy. And of course they also use the wood to make part of their canoes out of it. The ribbing for the canoes. And of course they covered the ribbing with what kind of bark?
Birch.
Sure, birch bark. Very good. So cedar is kind of a neat tree. Arborvitae or cedar. The French explorers at one time prevented scurvy by cooking the leaves of that, because scurvy has always been a problem with people if they don't get enough vitamin C. It's been a problem with sailors and been a problem with explorers, but the French explorers found out that they could boil the leaves and make them soft and eat the leaves of that tree and prevent scurvy.
Harvey, we have a baby cedar tree in our backyard where the top is dying and not the bottom. Is
Yeah.
that because of drought, or why would the top die?
Well, very often trees die from the top down of a number of diseases. It could be drought or it could be something else, I don't know. But they seem to die very often from the top down. That's the longest place to send the water up from the roots. So probably the first place to die, because if it has any problems, it can't get to the very top, see? Then I had another question. I didn't hit the other question. There was something about,
Would the vitamin C be in all?
you know, the longer I'm here, the more I say I don't know. The first year you could ask me about anything and I had an answer for you. It wasn't always the right answer, but I always had an answer, no matter what you asked me. Now the longer I'm doing this, the more I say I don't know. I know it's a bad sign, I guess. But that's true. I'm saying more and more, I don't know. If you ask me about the evergreens, other evergreens, are they, source of vitamin C? And that was my first, I don't know. And a couple other questions I'll think to myself, I don't know. Maybe that's it, I don't know. Same way. Another one that's quite easy to identify. It's a tree-parted frond, and there's no other fern like it. And you said there's no other fern like the shuttlecock fern, having the arrangement like that. Well, there's no other fern like this here. This is the bracken fern. And this one likes sunlight. You think of ferns usually having a dark, damp place. Well, this is just the opposite. This likes open area, likes sunlight, so you can't always say the ferns are always dark, warm, cool areas. Over the years, I learned a lot from my hikers, probably much more than others than me, but one thing that a number of people have told me over the years in the farming area is that cattle get into this kind of fern and eat it and get in trouble. So it starts to hemorrhage, bleed internally. And I see this man is shaking his head up there. He probably knows that. Is that what you've heard too? Or
Well, yeah, I'm a veterinarian.
he's a veterinarian. Why am I telling you about it then? Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, we don't have it where I am, but I know it's a poisonous plant to cattle because they do graze on it, and it will kill them.
Is it the way I heard it, the bleeding? Is that the way they get in trouble?
As far as I know, but I'm not sure about that because I don't deal with it.
Well, you're a veterinarian. you should share your knowledge with us. But the farmers who have been on these cycles will say that cattle do get in trouble with this plant from bleeding. So what would you call it then? It would be a, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Plasma hemorrhage? Or
Yeah, what's the word that means a hemorrhage? What's the word? If it coagulates, you say it
Well,
coagulates.
anticoagulant.
This would be anticoagulant.
Yeah.
Ferns reproduce from year to year by spores. They have little ingrown spores. And there's the male and the female part of it, and they start anew by spores. And then Doug was asking about the color of the water, the river water, and that comes from the tannic acid in the bogs. The river gets its start up here about 20 miles inland, north of here. And there's a lot of vegetation, tamarack and things that color the water that color. It's always sort of a brown color. We call it root beer color. That's what I call it. I like root beer. So I always do that. Root beer color water. In fact, some days when there's a lot of foam, it really does look like root beer. It looks like the head on a root beer. That's the color of the water.
Is hunting allowed here in the park?
The first one was just harmful. It's recommended. Then someone said about hunting. Rosie was asking a question about the growth on these trees, and she talked about lichens that grow on these trees, and lichens have been shown to be one of the early indicators of
moss?
air pollution. Well, maybe moss too, but I know lichens. These are lichens. And what she's asking about, I think, is talking about certain, Rosie, certain lichens being present or not present would be indication of air pollution. Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's supposed to be a correlation between growth at the base of a tree with moss and acid rain. And the moss at the base of the trees can actually end up killing the tree. And I don't know if that was locally why that was happening, or because the tannic acid in the soil.
No, you're saying moss. You're not saying the lichen.
No, it's the actual
Moss.
fuzzy soft
Moss.
moss.
I haven't heard that.
Well, earlier hunting times, the first ones we always used moss as a shaded side of the tree. Indicating the north side of the tree if you're ever lost in the woods. So that goes way back to pioneer days. And I'm not sure that the acid concept could have been other than maybe in the soil.
That's what I'm saying. Moss will thrive on acidic soil after it increases.
The one that could be dying off at an extreme rate, alarming rate. If you look around, you can see a tremendous number of birch trees already dead. Has it been recognized that there is a birch disease, such as Dutch elm disease or something?
What the foresters tell us on the birch is that it's a very susceptible tree to stress, and stress can be caused by drought. And now they're saying that the drought we've had in the last few years is causing these trees to be stressed. And then there's an insect that apparently can sense or smell, I guess, which trees are under stress and which ones are weakened by the drought. And that's the bronze birch borer. And then it goes after those trees and it burrows underneath the bark and it interferes with the conducting system. And then the tops start to die again. Again, if water can't get to the top. So a healthy birch tree will build calluses or build sort of scar tissue to block off those insect passages. But if the tree is weakened, then it can't do that and it can't defend itself, you might say, and then it succumbs to this disease. But we know about it and we are trying to overcome the adverse effects in the camping area by planting a lot of evergreens. We planted thousands of evergreens in the camping area, thousands, trying to counteract the death of the birch. So that's a problem, I know. And I can say, just look here and see all the birch that are dead. And we said some of the plants are named for animals. This is one that's named for an animal. And this is the dwarf dogwood, or bunchberry, or dwarf cornel. Different names, different parts of the country. And hikers very often give me names of these plants that I hadn't heard of before. This is a berry that doesn't taste much of anything, but it's not poisonous. It's just kind of bland, I guess is the word to be. Loggers in the fall of the year walk through the woods and pick up a handful of these just to kind of wet their whistle. They call them pigeonberries. Pigeonberries. And that name supposedly got started, I suppose, because somebody saw pigeons eating these berries. I don't know. Kind of funny how these plants get their names. We got another plant that you see along the highway that looks like a weed. It's a kind of an orange plant, like a dandelion. And that's a hawkweed, and supposedly some hawks ate that seed to improve their eyesight. You can do that story if you need. Because what hawk would be eating seeds, you know? Doesn't fit at all. Hawks aren't seed eaters, but that's how it got started. Hawkweed. Hawk eats to improve his eyesight. So, pigeonberry, or guys, don't kick this stuff, guys. Just do it. Right here? Yeah. Okay, that's a plant called the wild sarsaparilla, and that is a member of the ginseng family. It has a bluish purple berry. If you guys see that berry,
Over here, the berry.
a cluster of it. Oh yeah, this one. Nope. That's something different again now.
Oh, is it?
Now this is not it, but this is. I'm glad you spotted this one.
Is that blueberry?
Nope.
Blueberry.
I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to pick
Is
it.
it blackberry?
Why don't you step back, will you, David? This is the blue bead lily. Blue bead lily. Or another name is Clintonia. Poisonous berry. And if you wonder what it tastes like, I'll give you another name. Skunkberry. Skunkberry.
More or less tells you.
So that's one that looks very inviting, I guess. And if you don't know blueberries, you might think that. And we've got some patches here in the park that are very thick. You could pick a couple in a minute or two of that berry. But you would be getting the wrong one, too.
Red baneberry, non-edible plant. Thimbleberry. That is probably a thimbleberry right there. It's pretty.
It's red along the side of the trail, and it's named for this. You can look at it. Thimble. Sometimes kids don't know what a thimble is, so I brought along a thimble. Well, then I'm going to go up here for a minute, and I'm going to pick this plant here. This is named for another animal, a farm animal. Remember we had a cow parsnip and we had a dogwood. This is an animal that some of you maybe have and keep and ride.
Horse.
Horsetail?
Horsetail, right? The veterinarian there. This is a horsetail, right? It's a horsetail. This is a kind of primitive plant. It's related to the ferns in a way. It has spores. It comes apart in sections. It's jointed. In fact, we have another one in the park that's called jointed grass. So this supposedly feels like the tail of a horse. Do you treat horses?
No.
You don't treat horses. I was going to have you run your hand over it and tell us if it felt like the tail of a horse. Eh? That's what we think got a name from that, just because it's kind of bushy and feels like a tail of a horse. I don't know if it does.
I wondered if the appearance wasn't more the reason.
The appearance?
Yeah.
More than the touch. Yeah, maybe.
Also, isn't that one of the more like prehistoric plants?
Yeah, very primitive plant. In fact, they find remnants of that in the southern part of your state down there in the coal fields, southern Illinois, of the giant horsetails. They were great big plants in. Right, goes back way, way, way back. No, but that's a good question, Dave, because people confuse the wild sarsaparilla with poison ivy. And it does look like it in this one here because it's got 3 leaflets, eh? Now this one's got 5, it should have 5, but these two, if you look at these two, it would look like poison ivy. But over here, it's the same plant. It's got 5 leaf lips. Eh? But that's the one we said is a member of the ginseng family, and has purplish bluish berries on it. But I haven't seen that today.
The place that I use is stick
Oh, it collects some of the sunshine.
Same size. And then someone was asking me about beaver. Do we have lots of beaver? And I said I'll answer that when we stop again. And the answer is not lots, but we have some beaver around here. And they've done quite a bit of damage on the lower part of the river towards the lake. So we had a live trap them out of here a couple of years ago. We live trapped about 6 of them and moved them out of here. But they're not really a big problem. But they were going after our trees pretty hot and heavy, so we moved them out. We thought they were doing very progress.
Are these other plants of the ginseng family harvested like ginseng is?
Not that I know of. I guess the roots were used at one time to make the drink, the sarsaparilla drink.
Oh yeah.
If the old cowboys are coming, I want a sarsaparilla.
Oh, they still have that on the market.
I might have to take a birch branch.
I don't have poison in it, so I guess I really don't know. This poison, that's the red baneberry, B-A-N-E, and I asked her to do it so we didn't have to stop the trail, but that's a poisonous berry. And the word bane is a poison word, means poisonous. So we have a white baneberry too that I hope I can show you. It looks just like the one Rosie had, except all white berries. So let's watch for that, and if we do, someone holler and we'll stop the trail. Okay, sorry, now I'll get
Convenient little spot with no button.
the naming of Castle Danger, and I told that person that I would wait till we get together again. The story I've heard is from the lake or from out in the water looking towards that point, someone thought they fancied it looked like a castle. And there's never been a shipwreck there that I ever heard of, but the implication when you say Castle Danger is that it's a bad reef or a bad shipwreck or something. But the story I've heard, and that's from that gentleman who was at the program last night, 87-year-old man who lived there all his life right on that point. And that's what he said. He said a preacher man years ago thought that looked like a castle. And he credits this preacher man with naming that Castle Danger. And that's old Mark Lind, who was at the program last night. I had him stand up last night with his 90-year-old sister, remember? Mm-hmm. And like I say, he lived there all his life, and that's his story, so I'm not going to dispute it. That's what he said about it.
This is some more of the horsetail plant. How it grows. This plant right here is rose hips. Fall on this travel up through the river today. You could hear all this water rustling all the time we were coming up through here.
He's in the metal business, but he won't do it. But he did tell me the name of it. It's Port Hen or Ham. Port Hen. Lemonade cave itself. Skin bone, skin bone, and stuff. That's good stuff. There you go. I don't have to talk about that.
In other words, that does not have a coat of paint on it.
Oh, this was 10 years old now. 10 years old. Very costly, but we figure no maintenance on it, then we could justify paying more for it because no paint and no maintenance at all. I couldn't think of the name of it. I knew it was pork. Another thing I want to mention before we cross the bridge and go down the other side is we've seen a very little purple aster on the trail here. The asters are fall flowers. In fact, the Indians call it the plant that brings the fall. So we're seeing asters on the trail, and that's probably the only flower we're seeing right now in bloom along the asters. So if you wonder if it's fall or not, it's fall. We're also seeing some of the leaves here turning already. So another month of fall. The one I'm talking about is a very deep purple aster. Real deep purple. Well, this one here, this one here is a fireweed. That's called fireweed. The one on the tall spike up here. Aster looks like a little daisy.
It's like the one that's the one we took back.
The little ones like these. There's some real deep purple ones along here.
There's some further down the trail that are a little more colors.
More purple.
Yeah.
Not this one here. The one I'm talking about is a deep purple aster. Okay, well, we're going to try.
This view is taken from the bridge over the stream, down through the falls, down through the river valley.
Years in the park. This is the last year he's reached retirement age finally. So I remember about 20 years ago he was up here, and my family was up here, and Harvey's boys were up here. Along about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, some motorcycles started arriving at the interpretive center. They're carrying their beer cases and beer kegs up here, and they had a generator, and more motorcycles start showing up in the park, and these leather jacket motorcycle people, and they had a generator, about 250 watts of boom, boom, boom power. And I think Harvey and the park superintendent, Bruce Ross, to see who was going to go up there and tell this gang of motorcycle people that there was no camping or picnicking up in this area. Well, it got to be dusk and nobody was coming down from the trail, so I guess Harvey got the short straw and they had to go up and tell the motorcycle gang what. Harvey and I and a couple others went up on this trail. It wasn't any good trail like they had there. Harvey's two boys come up the trail on this side, and Harvey had his dog with him. It was a German Shepherd dog, a little puppy about 6 months old, a real frisky old German Shepherd puppy. We come up on this place here, and Harvey had that leash so tight on that dog, he just snarling and snarling. Harvey made his message that there was no camping parking at this place, so we were expecting the worst. And these two kids were up here, they blew the whistle three times, and somebody back here blew a whistle 3 times. I think the motorcycle people know they were surrounded or something. It all got quiet, all ended up there. But naturalist gets all kinds of those good jobs. He made it.
It could have been too bad I stayed on another 10 years.
Yeah.
Trail shelter built over 50 years ago out of white pine logs when the park was built. We got 2 of these in the park, one on this side of the highway, one on the other side of the highway, and then one stone one down by the mouth of the river. You've seen, if you get down by the mouth of the river and look up, you'll see a stone one like this. So we got 3 of them in the park. Well, I guess I'm going to go a little faster than going back. Coming down there and hoping nobody twisted their ankle. I think my sister-in-law broke her ankle here on one of my hikes a couple of years ago. We were talking about that, and she broke it. It was an unofficial hike, she said. It wasn't a group hike, but she was going with me through the woods, and she stepped off, broke her ankle. Had to take her into the hospital.
Now, up on the right-hand side, those were actual blueberries, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, you saw those near the top of the hill? Those were blueberries, yeah. Now, Dave is showing me some of this rock that's filled with the secondary minerals, this lava-type rock. And I guess it's along the trail. These are secondary minerals that fill in this lava. You want it back?
They tell me things about leeches. What do they look up?
Where's the veterinarian?
Over here.
What do leeches live on when there's not people to suck?
Well, some of them get on the fish. You know, that's a problem with the coho salmon and that. Well, not the coho. That's another leech type creature that gets on them. A lamprey. Lamprey, yeah. But I think they attach to anything living. Anything that has blood.
What?
I think so.
they kind of like move down the river and they stay in one spot?
It's in this level.
I don't know.
Is there a caption?
Yeah, if they would get on them. Yeah, whatever they get onto, I think they stay with till they get satisfied.
Did you say you saw some at the mouth of the river?
Yes.
Were they, could you tell if they were leeches or lampreys?
Still waiting on Megan Beach.
Nice one sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't it? I like the blue ones.
White.
Flowers here. And I wanted to stop here anyhow, telling people, so this is fine. I know where you want to stand so you can hear me, but we got a question over here on this little white flower here. That's called curly everlasting. Curly everlasting because it apparently is a flower that makes a winter bouquet that lasts, so that's where it gets its name. And then they had the other question about the kind of a pod-like flower over here. Here. That's called turtle's head because the flower looks like a little head of a turtle's head. And then we got another aster here. We got the woodland aster right here. But I'm going to ask you kids something here. You kids come in right now.
There's a buck in there.
Oh yeah, it's right.
Well, I'm going to ask you kids like Dave here, and you kids.
It's the curly everlasting.
Good minds if you're asking some good questions. Why do you think there's no plants growing on these rocks here? Because when you look in the woods there, the rocks are covered with trees and grass and shrubs, and out here, it's practically bare. Nothing growing here. I want to know why. Ask you? Ricky? Close to the water? What did I have to do? What? So you say that the plants die here because they get too much water maybe? What do you think? Well, anybody else here? Young person? You're young, a little younger again. Where's sister? Sister? Hiding. Do you hear what I'm asking? Do you have any ideas? No ideas at all. Why this area is all bare of plants pretty much, and then inland or away from the shore is kind of a lot of plants growing. Well, it has to do with water. I'll give you kids a clue. It has to do with water, all right. When is there water here, do you think? Okay. What's your first name? Joey? Joey, you got the right track. It says water. And when would there be lots of water over this area here? When? What time of year would there be lots of water? What do you think, David? Well, when the snow melts, what time of year would that be? We have lots of water. Spring. We have lots of water coming over here in the springtime, that's right. And what it does is just scour this whole area. Not every year, but maybe every 5 or 6 or 7 years. It just scours and scrapes down. And where it can't get a good scrape in these niches, then we get little plants and vegetation growing. It doesn't get a good scrape here either, apparently, because now we've got things started here to grow. So all this rock here, lava rock we're standing on, pretty much goes through in the woods, the same thing. But in time, the plants start to break it down, start to decay it, start to add organic matter, and in time build up soil. Take many, many years, thousands of years, but that's how soil is built up from bare rock. But here it doesn't get a chance because every so often the high water, the spring just comes tearing down here. And where does it go? It goes towards the ocean. kids had some good ideas about water. I think you were the one that said water first. Well, this is the top of a lava layer we're standing on right now. And you can see it's sort of porous, sort of crumbly, because the top part of every lava layer has gas in it. Gas bubbles all at the top of the layer of lava. So that's why this top of the layer is kind of soft and crumbly. If I had I tell people, if I had a jackhammer and started to drill down like this, the farther I go down, the harder, the more dense it is, the tougher it is. Until I hit the top of the next layer. Then my drill would suddenly go down. I hit the soft crumbly rock again, and I go down deeper and deeper and deeper. And the same thing happens over and over again. Many, many layers of this lava rock.
Yeah.
No, you're right here, dear.
You're letting the kids catch their breath here. Like David. Doug was reminding me of something that he used to do years ago that he had participated in as a youngster. I would have the kids bend down by a plant with the name of the plant next to the plant. And just like Rosie did it today for the red baneberry, except that you'd have a little card that said red baneberry, and then the kid would bend down by that plant, and then supposedly the kid would say the name of the plant as the person walked by. And then I had about 6 or 8 kids on the head of the line doing that. And then as the line got through, they get at the end of the line. So then I had about 6 kids. Then I'd look back and see some old person like him, and I'd say, stop, and send up the junior naturalist. And then those 8 or 10 kids would come thundering up, remember? That's what he was reminding me of. Did you ever do that?
Paul did that.
Your Paul?
Our son Paul. He was cow parsnip. We have a picture of him holding up the cow parsnip sign.
You got photographic proof of me doing that.
Yes, I do.
Was Paul holding up the sign, huh? How old was Paul then?
I think about 8. It's hard to reach. It's a long time ago. 21 years, 31.
You know what really got me started on the whole thing was I never could find anybody who could say wild sour sarsaparilla or spell it. So that's what got me started. That's made the first sign, wild sour sarsaparilla, because I never could. And then I went from that to something else, and then pretty soon I had a big pack of cards.
They love doing that. They felt very important.
Oh, I'll bet.
It's about 12 or something.
Good long time ago.
We see you. We see you. We know you see us.
There are a couple things I want to talk about. One is that this afternoon at 2:30 we have a kids discovery walk, especially to help kids work on their junior park naturalist badges. And this is a plant identification hike and a hike that acquaints you with this program to earn the beaver patch. It's for kids 7 to 11 years old primarily, but they have gone a little bit younger if the parents will help a lot. And they get this beaver patch that's free of charge. And the hike today would qualify for 100 points, the hike we just had. So if anybody's interested in that, I could give them a book after this hike is over and sign off for this activity, and they could get started with 100 points. And then the program tonight's another 100 points, and then the activity this afternoon, Kids Discovery Walk at 2:30, that would be a third activity. So, Dave is down here on top of an old fireplace that we want to talk about for a minute. This was the officers' quarters for the CCC camp, Civilian Conservation Corps, which was down below us. And the old pump house is still down there. You see the roof of it right down here through the trees. Practically everything else is gone, but it's a group camp now. We got 3 group sites down there for organized groups, like church groups or youth groups or things like that. So they can come in and sign in, and at a reduced rate, I think it's 50 cents a person, have a group camp down here. And there's water lines down there, and there's pit toilets, but it's a very nice area for kids and groups. They love it. And they're right along the river, and if you're interested, you can check with the park office sometime, and they make reservations for that. And it's a real nice area. So that's what we call our group camp. So I can't think of much else now that you've been a real good group asking. It's edible berry that we call Juneberry around here. Juneberry. And these are edible. The purple one. You want to try one? You got gum in your mouth. You want to hear them?
Marky.
You kids got gum in your mouth. But these are really good tasting berries. Juneberry.